right, take a
Are we
deep
on?
breath. No, in 3, 2, 1, we're on now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gary and Kenny Show. I'm Gary Kroger in Waterloo, Iowa, and I am joined by
Kenny Seisler in Calabasas, California. Not the home of the free or the land of the brave.
No, we are not. We are.
Because last week, it was the trivial thing in my life was that I wanted to move the pool at the community pool. I had been moving this workout board so I could see it, and then suddenly last week the head of the pool said you can't move it; it's a safety hazard.
Right. So you went up the ladder. I
went all the way to the city hall. I went to fight City Hall on this thing. I sent them pictures. I thought I made a very, very reasonable argument how after 20 years of doing this, suddenly this has become a safety hazard. This doesn't make any sense to me.
So what was the verdict?
The verdict was very patronizing. Mr. Seisler, we thank you very much. We appreciate your opinion. We're so glad you've enjoyed
you already know where that's going.
Yeah,
we appreciate your opinion.
Yes. However, we here strive to make the pool very safe, and what's the thing? Our priority here at the pool is to ensure the safety of everybody that comes to the pool, and therefore we think that you shouldn't be able to move the pool.
Right, but. No, and we've already made this a bigger deal than it probably is. But since I'm committed to this now, what's the safety issue? What is new? What exists because of moving your board that didn't previously exist? What happened? And how does that precipitate?
Well, I wrote saying that you can't just arbitrarily proclaim a safety issue. It needs to be based on some facts, that history that says, hey, somebody once tripped over this, and therefore, in the interest of safety, we're not going to allow this anymore. But no, there was none of that. There was strictly the very kind of, patronizing, condescending thing, which, I really what I think it points to is if you look at these things as people who are in these positions, the city hall or whatever, they don't want to, if somebody had made a decision, like the person who heads the pool, who I have the beef with, and who made this decision, they don't want to get into a conflict with that person. They want to show support for their fellow city worker.
Right. And basically by taking this act, the issue kind of goes away. They're just sort of muzzling you. Right. And it's the law of least resistance.
Yes.
Right. And they just don't want trouble.
And I was inspired by you because you said you need to show people that we can, if we we can move the needle, as
we can affect change.
We can affect change. Well, I couldn't, Gary.
Well, the other side of what I said was, we're going to learn that we can't even affect the minutia like this, which is really frustrating, which probably segues into our show today. But I want to ask one question. Are you willing to keep doing it to make a point and
moving the thing?
Yeah, eventually they're going to either say, Mr. Seisler, you have to leave this facility.
I'm not. I really have decided that it's just... it's so unimportant. It really is.
Ultimately, I have to agree.
And I really don't want to. I go to the pool because to get relaxation, to clear my mind. I don't want to have the anxiety while I'm swimming, knowing that I have violated a law.
Right. And that somebody's. That's the guy.
And that's the guy. Yeah, I just don't.
That's the whiteboard guy.
Yeah, that's the guy. So I have put that behind me. I've lost. You cannot fight City Hall. And that's what happened.
But you know what? Let's find a way to finagle this into our theme today, which is sort of what? Behind enemy lines? Is that what we're going to call it?
Yeah, we are having our good friend Laura Foy, who is
behind enemy lines in Florida,
an LGBTQ person who lives in Florida, a very liberal Democrat, great friend of mine, hosted a show for me, and she. And, everything going on in Florida is just, it's crazy. Everything going on in the world is crazy.
Well, let me ask you.
And I'll tell you something else that just blew my mind. If I may, Gary, may I?
You may.
So this whole thing with me, with the safety issue of then I won't be able to move the board to a lane so I could see it, to protect my safety.
Right.
House Representatives, the House of Representatives of the United States Congress today repealed a law that was in effect since 1930. And that law said you cannot sell these braces for handguns, which can literally turn the handgun into more of a rifle. It's a stock. It's some stock. Kind of stock. Right.
Right. Bump stock. Is that what that is?
That's not a bump stock. Bump stock turns, I think, a semi-automatic weapon into a more automatic. Right.
Right.
This is just something for holding the gun in a way. I think I forget the term for it, in a way that it makes it more balanced. Okay. Makes it easier to kill people.
Easier to shoot. Yeah, right.
This is what the House of Representatives found necessary to repeal.
This is what's important.
This is what's important. Now, it's incredible to me that nobody else seems to be concerned about safety except Calabasas. If I actually went there with a gun with this hand thing, they'd say, that's not a problem, Mr. Seisler. That's the House of Representatives said you could come in.
I don't know where this conversation is going, but that is a very interesting point. Is like, yeah, it's too dangerous to move the whiteboard at the end of the pool, but to put a something onto a handgun,
some kind of
so that you could turn it into a rifle to aim better and with more consistency. That's okay. Well, look, everybody knows that watches the show or listens to the show that we're a couple of liberal guys, we're registered Democrats. But isn't this where the right sort of rattles their saber and beats their drum about just the insanity of liberalism? Yes. In other words, I don't know that the pool issue is a liberal or conservative issue, but we like to create safety measures in all sorts of ways to protect one another, and people feel overwhelmed by that. I feel overwhelmed by the little minutia of laws and this and that. And, you know, I'm in a neighborhood association and I have to keep my lawn nice there. And there's just, now, of course, that's not government necessarily, but it's all of the rules and restrictions that govern my life.
I do think it's a pushback. Yes, it is definitely a pushback. And they, you know, I'm tired of all the, you know, the rules and regulations that I have to, that seem so ridiculous, which is, you know, all of the politically correct things and not saying the wrong thing and whatever. It's you know, it's a minefield of political correctness out there. And you just, it's hard you step on it.
Well, and the tendency is to take a side. Right? Because I always take the side of enlightenment, the side that's being called woke. In other words, you brought up last week master bedrooms. I've called and this is the master bedroom. Go into the master bedroom. And you pointed out that the etymology of that may very well be master as in master of the plantation. And I thought, well, it seems like it's nitpicky, but you know what? I'm glad, if that's where it came from, that we are now getting rid of master bedroom. Now, at the same time, I'm overwhelmed by what I can or cannot say or used to say or in a different context being misunderstood. I mean, I have a lot of people in my life that identify, you know, non-binary, and I'm accidentally stepping on toes all the time. I don't intend to, but I'm always making gender mistakes and they, them, and
well, yeah. You know, I always wanted to do that courtroom scene where somebody is accused of murder but they have to do all the right pronouns of referring to him as they,
he, them, yes, murdered on this day, her, she. Yeah. So do you? And we're being flippant about something important. Yeah. We're being flippant about something important, but at the same time, I think we have to address the fact that straight lines of communication.
I think it's going to go away. I think this idea of calling people they and us and all of that stuff, I don't really think it's going to survive. I really don't. Survived because it was okay. It's, you know. Say Ms. the MS survived.
Right, sure.
It just wasn't complicated. It's pretty simple.
Right.
But this has become very confusing.
Right.
And I don't really, and I think people are generally not good with anything that complicated.
Well, looking at the national races, and we're going to be talking about Ron DeSantis in a little bit. The polls right now, Kenny, some preliminary polls say that the independents who really decide elections, because you got 33% here, 33% here, you've got a sliver of people that go one way or the other at the last minute. That right now they're like saying, you know what? Let them be woke. Let them. They're supporting LGBTQ and non-binary identification, all of the pronouns and things like that for the most part. But the right is targeting that argument, and I feel that we can still lose that argument. In other words, that spongy middle ground that decide elections could very well swing to the enough already. You know what?
Well, that's the economy. There's no question.
Let's just get rid of all this confusion.
That's absolutely true. I mean, people will say, listen, it's like, okay, we were okay with like gay people and trans people all coming out. Okay. But when they came out really big with parades and the Tony Awards and TV shows. It's just like, so what happened? It was, right. I think, and they should have been, and it's fine by me, but I do see where people are sitting in front of the television and saying, do we not have to go? Can I just not have everything, every TV show have to address this?
Remind me of the director, because maybe you'll know who I'm quoting here. But he said, look, I don't want to go to your movie that has a token Polynesian and a token black and a token Asian person and a token white person just because you're showing us how diverse you are. Yeah. Tell a story about Polynesians. Tell a story about Asians, and however the casting goes that is appropriate to the story, let it be. That's what being diverse is.
You cannot pick up a paper, certainly an entertainment paper and we've talked about this before, where a movie or a TV show is not only measured based on the content, but the diversity.
Right.
So that when we talked about when awards comes out, it's like, it's more about, this year we had 10 women directors and 5 that were black and then 3. It's all that kind of scorecard. And so, that's, I get it. But hopefully the pendulum will one day swing back where everybody's doesn't have to be yelling at each other. I don't know. And as we often say, fortunately, we'll be dead by then. So we really don't care.
Well, and the last comment that I want to make, and we can bring out Laura, is, really, it's your comment that it's like, I had this argument the other day with someone that's really upset about transgender women competing with girls.
It's a good one.
In
Very
sports,
complicated.
Right?
I know.
It's complicated. And I said, look, why don't we just let it be? Because I believe that over time, this is going to work itself out. A lot of people who are confused, a lot of people who are maybe carrying the banner of this is the way it should be. Some of that's going to change if we just let everything run its course. And I don't mean that means that LGBTQ awareness is going to diminish, but I think that the complications that we're having, like, well, do we let them race together or this, that, and the other? I think that's going to figure itself out.
Well, okay. You say that, but you're not a parent with a child in school. That's where it all comes down to. It's all about their reason is I'm protecting my children. My children couldn't get into this because there was a trans person.
Because she didn't win every race.
Right.
But that also presupposes that everybody's stupid, that colleges are stupid. They are able to say, oh, look, she wins. She comes in second in every race. She's racing against someone who is going to win every race. I mean, we can just sort of change the lens that we're looking through to be more
Hey, listen,
specific.
I would be confused. I would be confused if my daughter was swimming or on a soccer team, and now if somebody who was suddenly a 6'4", incredible muscular man came out and said, I had the operations, I had the hormones, I'd be like, I'm not really sure.
But let me ask you one question.
Yeah, only one. Okay, go ahead.
Why do you care? She didn't win. Why do you care that she didn't come in first? So what?
Oh, my daughter?
Yeah. So what?
Oh.
Let me suggest this.
Because it's just because sports about fairness. Sports about fairness.
It's also about rising to the highest level of competition. Okay, so you have someone who is allowed to compete, who has a biological advantage. Mm-hmm. Well, but that's true in everything. Everything. There are people with different height advantages, weight advantages, strength advantages.
Then why aren't women competing in professional football?
Well, why not? I mean, right now,
because they're going to get. Because we know why. There is a physical distinction between men and women.
But if someone were able to, then by all means, why not? No, that's not going to happen very often.
Listen, it really comes to me. I would love it if everything could be like you had a court. A court of are you man or woman, in which you would have some people come in and they would be determined and by a panel of people, of their peers, and you go, you're not really a you're more, I don't think you should be in, because you're 6'4", you're 250 pounds. I get that, and you were once a guy.
But a taller person, yes, but a taller person has an advantage playing basketball. So, but we don't have just 6'10" people on the team and teams with just 6'6" people. Look, if I were a young woman in high school competing against a trans athlete, and that trans athlete won all the time, and I love to run, I can swear to you, Kenny, my position would be, great, that's the bar. That's how good I have to get. It's like pushing the 4-minute mile. They say it can't be done. It can't be done. Well, then it gets done. And then we just up the level of what the standard is. That's my feeling on this.
Okay. I honestly, I don't know. I do really think it's kind of like on an individual basis. And I don't know how you monitor that. And the thing is, it hasn't really been that big of a problem.
Well, it's 1%.
But it is a problem.
Right. But they're making this the flagship problem on the right.
As though it's happening everywhere.
And it's literally 1%.
Exactly.
Where this is an issue.
If that.
So a young lady who was a sports champion here in Iowa, and I can't remember her name, but I posted about her in the past, said, and she is the greatest high school female athlete maybe in Iowa history or something like that. Mm. And she said, it would hurt my feelings more than losing a race if we denied someone who loves to run like I do to compete with me. And I thought that was a beautiful statement and a perfect statement.
No, and I think it's a very generous statement. That's terrific. By the way, in California, we've been getting ads to come to Iowa.
Really? Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
But not to live, but to vote or something.
No,
really?
No.
What do these ads look like?
No, I think it's like come on vacation. That just shows people running and being happy. It's like all of these things. And by the way, we get a lot of that because I think a lot of these places think that people in California are very unhappy. And I'm sure there are people who are unhappy. And they think it's because California is losing population while other places are gaining population.
Yeah, but over time, you're still you're losing population for this segment right now, but over time, it's still an increase. It's almost like the stock market. If you play the long game, the California curve continues to go up. But right now, I think you're in a little dip, something like that. But Kenny, I just hosted the Iowa Tourism Partners Awards.
Oh.
And I'm critical of Iowa simply because of the politics and simply because we've become a very, very red state. And again, we're going to talk about that with Laura. But I love this land. There are so many things to do outdoors, lakes, hiking. We have skiing, in certain little places. And if you're a hunter, it's hunter's paradise. I'm not a hunter. But there's all sorts of things to do here. It's a wonderful area to live. It really is in terms of its land.
Not in the winter.
Yeah, but we have winter sports and winter things that we do.
Do you have ski?
It's a little too long.
You don't have winter
Well, we sports. Have a couple of short downhill things.
Is there a mountain in Iowa?
There are big hills around on the east coast along Lake Michigan. They're bluffs. And we have 2 or 3 ski areas. It's not like going to Aspen by any stretch, but I learned to ski, on Iowa hills.
Okay,
but it's a beautiful country. It really is beautiful land.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt it. It's always curious how we got here, and I don't know. I mean, why?
Why do
it's all
birds
yeah,
suddenly appear?
Yeah. Now we have a copyright issue, Gary.
I think I sang 3 bars. I think we get 3 bars.
All right. Okay.
I'm
so by the way, let's just go to our usual checkup. How you feeling, Gary?
I feel good. I've been a little stressed because a lot of changes in my life.
Yes.
I have a full-time wife again, which is wonderful. We have a foster child who is
wonderful. Is he living with you now?
Yeah, he's living in the house. And I got to tell you, and I hope that my son is Chris is watching this. Kenny, he's the son I always wanted to have. He loves keeping his room clean. He's organized. I adore him.
Amazing.
I adore him.
That's great. So now what, does he have an obligation to get you something on Father's Day? Is he suddenly thrown in on the weekend? Right? Did you just get a foster child the weekend before Father's Day?
I'm increasing my odds to get something.
Yeah.
That's all I'm doing.
Have they planned? Well, let me tell you my Father's Day conversation I had with my wife. About a week ago, they said, Kenny, what do you want for Father's Day? What food? If you could pick any food that you want, what could you pick? So Nate, who's the other father, my son-in-law, we all were texting back and forth. And then finally it was all decided we were going to get hamburgers, fried chicken, and clams to make on the barbecue. Okay?
Sounds great.
And it's like, sounds great, right? Then Deborah texts me yesterday and says, is baby back ribs good for everybody? And I said, well, what happened to our previous menu? And she said, well, it's too hard to just cook the hamburgers for all those people, whatever. It'll just be easier to do ribs. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I said, well, what about the fried chicken? Well, it's too hard to do the fried chicken for everybody. So I was like, okay, what about the clams? She said, the clams you could have. But otherwise, if you could have anything else, what would you like? I just told you that. I know, but no, she goes, it's Father's Day. You should have what you want. I said, that's very nice of you, but I would like to have hamburgers, fried chicken. She goes, well, what's your second choice? What else would you want? What else do you want that you really want?
What else do you want more than anything else that isn't
that you can't have?
That you can't have.
And I said, when you asked me this question, I didn't have a backup.
Well, you know how I solve this?
How?
I do everything. I do everything from Father's Day. I do all the cooking on Mother's Day. I do all the cooking on Thanksgiving.
The problem is we're going to be at we're going to be at my son-in-law's house, and it'll all fall on his shoulders.
Yeah.
So I don't want it. So much as my wife's putting it, it's Father's Day. You should have whatever you want, unless it's something that you can't have.
Well, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's
Day. Well, you know what? I think we should check in on Laura Foy, who's done the show a couple of times, once before the Florida hurricane, once after to see the aftermath. And she has really become our war correspondent behind enemy lines, as she is in the very red state of Florida, which up in Iowa, we call the Iowa of southeastern United States.
Would you just say Florida is the most red state?
I think it is. In fact, we were looking at a map recently where it showed which state had the most anti-LGBTQIA plus whatever laws. And it was like shades of blue, shades of purple, and Florida was black.
Yeah. Florida, Texas. And now Iowa. Your lovely Ron DeSantis is spending a lot of time up here because the Republican caucus, we're still first in the nation. So he has been spewing his vitriol, and he called Iowa to our governor. I'm so proud of you. You're the Florida of the Midwest.
Oh, God, wow. He's the worst. I'd almost prefer Trump.
No, don't say that.
Oh.
No. But let me just explain to people. But let me just, so we can cut to the chase. The reason that she's behind the enemy lines is not only her liberal thinking, but she's also an LGBTQ person. And which letter would you like to choose from that alphabet, Laura?
I stick with the basic G.
G.
Basic G. Straight G. Straight J. All right.
She's married. She's married to the partner, and she has Kingston, who's how old?
He's just turned 9 a couple of weeks ago.
Wow. So let's explain the situation. She lives just south of Fort Myers, Florida, right? Yeah. On the west coast of Florida. This is extremely conservative country.
Very, very, very.
Very conservative. You are probably not the neighbor that everybody wished would come down, right? Do you and your wife, who's lovely, Danielle, who really helped me when I went and visited them, do you go out in public? Can you hold hands?
To be honest with you, I'm not really a PDA person, even when I lived in LA. However, I would not here. No,
definitely not.
No, and I am hesitant. Obviously meeting new people. We don't talk about politics right away. Try not to at all. We'll get to that story in a moment. But even at like my son's school or any situation where they need to know, who lives in that house, it's always like.
Well, Laura, since you made the decision to move there, and it was already a red state, but it's really caught fire as the poster child of conservative far-right values.
Yeah.
Has there been an adjustment? Have there been any regrets? Is the lifestyle still what you want?
The lifestyle is absolutely what I want. It's getting worse. And I had somewhat hoped that once the frenzy of Trump mania went away, after he had left presidency of the office and whatnot, and people kind of got back to normal, where where you stood on the political spectrum didn't really matter, because that wasn't a question I asked people 10 years ago. It wasn't a thing as much. There wasn't hate like there is now. I was hoping it would get back to that. And instead, I think it's going hardcore the other way, where it's just I'm surrounded by Trump flags, FJB. I think I mentioned this on the last podcast. Everywhere you go, it's just.
What flags that say FJB? What?
Fuck Joe Biden.
Okay.
They're all over Iowa.
Let's go, Brandon, whatever it is. I mean, you can't drive down the street with just being, attacked by these flags. I've never in my life lived where, I was an Obama fan. I didn't put an Obama flag on my house. You know what I mean? But it's cult-like. And I mentioned this earlier, so I don't bring it up with my friends. However, I've made a very good friend down here who is a hippie, artsy, fartsy. I mean, she just wants to walk barefoot in the sun, and her children, just dance and sing. You could not. I'm thinking, right?
Yeah, right.
People.
Yeah, she's on your team.
No, not on my team, but these are my people. You're on.
Okay. Team sympathetic.
Right.
Yeah. She's team adjacent. She's team adjacent.
Team adjacent.
Just like you, Ken. You're team adjacent. So we're at the beach recently and, drinking. And so I brought it up thinking this was a safe space.
Yes.
And she says, well, we were big fans of Trump, because he wasn't a politician. And I'm thinking, when did not having any experience for a job make you qualified for that job? This is such a common statement that you hear over and over again, right? Well, he's just not a politician. And I'm like, why is that good? You know what I mean? I'm not a politician, nor should I be. I don't think that makes any sense in the world to me.
No, it doesn't. He's not a politician, but he's a full-time asshole.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But she did say, but now, after hearing it and all the things he says, we're rethinking it, and I don't know if she means it. Maybe she said that to me because my face is probably drawn.
Yeah, maybe.
Or
Did you venture into the DeSantis as an alternative?
What? I think I did say, because honestly, my belief, and I could be very wrong here, is that DeSantis is worse. DeSantis is worse because he gets things done. He's not crazy, And so he's not dismissed as crazy. You know what I mean? Where Trump says a lot of bullshit and he's a psychopath, but I don't think he's as effective in a political position.
That's exactly correct. Right. I'm in Iowa, and I know I keep bringing that up, but it really is politically the same matrix going on here, the same right-wing paradigm, and we're completely red. And DeSantis is the Messiah. The former Trumpies are going, well, we didn't really like Trump's personality. We were just looking for someone that held his values, and Ron DeSantis does to them.
He's more conservative. Like at one point, Trump was pro-choice.
Yeah. And not anti-LGBTQ either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what exactly are the new regulations in Florida as far as the don't say gay?
One that is pretty scary is that a medical provider can deny you care.
Yeah.
So if I went in and, I don't know the exact specifics, but essentially if I went to a private practitioner and was looking for, hey, do I have cancer or whatever it is, and they don't like me because I'm gay, they don't have to give me care.
Wow. What is the regulation? Because isn't that a violation of
human rights?
It says if the doctor or anyone shouldn't have to provide services to a group of people that goes against their, moral or religious beliefs.
What about Hippocrates? What was that? Where they take the oath?
The Hippocratic Oath.
Hippocratic Oath, yeah.
I
think that's frightening. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, Iowa's going that way. Texas.
How is that even constitutional?
It isn't.
Wow. You're going to have to ask DeSantis.
Wow, that is scary.
That, I believe, passed. Like that's current law in Florida.
Right.
The things that he's doing, his whole platform is, anti-woke, and it's like, there's such a negative backlash. But to be fair, I do think the woke agenda and all of this stuff has swung too far. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think tuck crotch, the type of bathing suits that are designed to hide a man's genitalia so that you can tuck your penis should be front and center at Target. I don't.
Right. I mean? Right.
Like it's gone too far. So does it need to be reined in? Yeah. But it doesn't need to go back the other way. But that's what we're seeing is these just.
Well, before you came on, Gary and I were speculating on, why this has suddenly become such a big issue, where for a while there, it seemed like everybody was, okay with people who had different lifestyles. And I was speculating on the fact that I think the pendulum has swung so far now that people are seeing, it's like, yeah, the gay people and the trans people came out, but they came out big. They came out with parades. They came out with everything.
Here's the thing, and this is my position, and all my friends hate me for it.
Yes.
And everybody says I'm wrong. And this, as a member of the gay community, I am in not the popular opinion, but I don't think that transgendered people have a real hard time with it, right? Right or wrong, whatever it is, it's hard to accept that you are altering your body and changing and taking drugs and all this stuff. It's hard to accept that. Whereas people were okay with the, hey, I'm a girl and I love another girl thing. That's a different thing. And when we all got lumped together,
right.
It didn't do good things for the gay people.
Right. No, I
personally, I don't think, I think they're very separate. Whatever my beliefs are on the, that's separate, but like, why is it the same? I don't know.
Right. It's the same because there are similarities. But they can be similarities and there can be great differences as well.
Yes.
The similarities, it's people who want to be who they want to be, who are being
identify different than cisgender, traditional, whatever you want to call it. And similarly persecuted. I mean, there's
that's the similarity.
An umbrella.
Shouldn't everybody just be able to live their life as they want to live? That's the similarity.
Right. I understand that. But I also think that there's a lot of differences.
You're absolutely
well,
right.
I think they haven't helped in the fact that, yes, it is very trans people who, and not the trans community, but there is a community there that are entertainers. By the way, there have been trans entertainers. What was the British guy and other,
well, you mean,
yeah,
Eddie Izzard or something?
Yeah, Eddie Izzard. Okay. Who did it? So it was a little bit more flamboyant. And that, I think, became a little bit like, oh my God, to a lot of conservative people. And I think that there certainly should be able to, but I was commenting to Gary, I watched the Tonys. Great. I love the Tonys. But it was, to a lot of extent, all about, and because of DeSantis, all about, be who you want to be gay, be trans, be whatever. It was a lot of that. There was more of that than there was actual musical numbers.
Right.
Well, we're still in the revolutionary stage. And I agree with everything here. But we are still in the revolutionary stage, which is why we've swung so far. We're not explaining context. We're not explaining the differences, as you speak to, Laura. We're not explaining these things because we don't even understand them all. In a way, having been part of the gay rights movement my whole life, we finally got them to understand that homosexuality is a real thing. Yeah. And now, as you're saying, we throw in, okay, gender identification is also on the table. My feeling is this. Why do we care? Why not just let everyone identify and be and live as they are? Where is the offense?
So my son, Ken, I mentioned this to you earlier. He's 9. He's asking a lot of questions about girls and boys. His whole life he's liked to play with dolls and things like that, and just boy stuff too. But there's he's 9. He's figuring it out. And he also has ADHD. So anyway, we're gonna send him to a therapist to help him work with the ADHD. And I researched the therapy thing, and in their disclaimers and the thing they say online about themselves, they're fully supporting of gender identity issues and all of these things. And my first thought, it was a little bit of a hesitancy because and I don't know if this is a good thought. I don't want them to put thoughts in his brain, right? Like if he says, sometimes I think I want to be a girl, I don't want them to be like, well, let's go down that path. I just know he's 9 years old. And
see, this is what I was saying, Gary. It's different when you're a parent.
Yeah.
You don't care and it's easy. But when it affects your child and how society,
other people should have that door open, but when it's my kid, I'm like,
I get it. I get it.
Impressive, right? He's a sponge. He mimics anything. Like he sees something on YouTube, and next thing you know, he's talking like that character. You know what I mean? So
right.
This therapist, this person he respects, is
right.
Like pushing him in a way. Like I'm still sending him therapy, but it would definitely a thought that crossed.
But the
my
therapy's
mind.
for what? Attention deficit disorder? Is that what the
yeah, he has a hard time focusing.
Okay.
Gets distracted easily. But
when I was a kid, that's what we were. We would do that. You got distracted.
Yeah, well.
I know.
I look at
problems today.
And I hear what you're saying completely. And I'm the stepfather to a non-binary child, and I've been watching. I mean, I've been involved intimately in the trials and tribulations, and I had this epiphany not too long ago where I realized I think that we're in a moment in time, a transitional moment in time, not unlike the 19th Amendment when even women predominantly were going, well, no, we don't belong in politics. Well, that's crazy. That's liberal horse shit. That's off the rails. But it was a transitional moment that adjusted itself. This generation, to me, and from what I've talked to my stepchild, is gender just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Where it's a spectrum and it doesn't matter. And if somebody wants to choose this, even if there isn't some biological change, it's okay. So in an anthropological sense, I think that 100 years from now, we're going, oh yeah, you remember when everybody was a specific gender and now we're just what we want to be?
How old is your stepchild? Just curious, I think
was cousin how old?
Yeah.
18.
Okay.
18 now. But
a 15-year-old, and he says the same thing. He's in high school and he's like, nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're a boy or you're a girl. You kiss boys or kiss girls. Like it's everybody's they, and you know what I mean. Like it's just
right. But the same. But here's the thing: the thing that you expressed, which is going down that sending somebody to a therapist, and that possibly the conversation could turn to sexuality. You don't want this stranger having a conversation, and that's what the parents who are, even out here in California, are boycotting it, that they don't want their kid exposed to discussion because they're too young. So, and there are fights going on between parents saying, leave my 8-year-old out of it. And the other one saying, and the other like saying, what's wrong with the truth?
Well, it's really a hard line, like the whole don't say gay law, right? It's like they're not allowed to read books that have my two mommies and my two daddies. So obviously I want that visibility for my child. I want him to be exposed and to learn that there's nothing weird and families comes in all shape and sizes. But like, where do we draw the line? Is education good? Yes. But is urging good down a you know what I mean? Like, it's a really tough, if I could write a law, I could make it very clear.
Yeah.
But unfortunately.
Well, there was a reason we didn't get sex ed until we were in high school. I wasn't being taught the birds and the bees in first grade. But
there was a reason.
The physiology of our brain is not ready to understand much more than right, left, up, down, hot, cold.
Yeah.
I disagree. I disagree completely.
You do?
If I may. Yes. I even had written a thing on Facebook about this. Exposing children, we're so fearful that we expose children to the truth that something bad will come out of it because they're too young to handle it. Well, I'll make this point first. I was born in 1954. When I was 8 years old, Life magazine would come to my house, and I was first seeing these pictures of Jews piled on one another from the Holocaust. My parents weren't around to explain it to me, but I looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and I absorbed it, and it was terrifying to me, and all those things, and it confused me, but it did help shape me because the more I learned about the truth, the more educated I got. So that exposure to something at a very early age that a lot of people would say is too much for a kid, right. I actually think that they can absorb. And I will say this, you said that we didn't have sex education until like whatever the grade was. I remember when we would call, and pardon me, I'm probably going to get in trouble, when we would use the word homo and fag and all that at 5 or 6 years old, because you'd hear it from a parent or somebody, and you never knew what it meant. Now, nobody would explain it to me or talk to me about this stuff, and I was being probably very mean and insensitive to people because I was saying, I remember, if someone would say 69 on the bus, and everyone would go, ah, like we didn't. But kids would pick up phrases from parents, and some kid would come on the bus and say, "Are you a homo? Are you a homo?" And the other kid just wanting to not feel out of it. And I was probably one of them would go, yeah, he's a homo. And I had no idea what a homo was. Not a clue.
Our older kids use it. Like they'll still be like, oh, that's gay. Or like, oh, that dude's a homo. If just meaning he's like,
well, that's context. That's context. I've talked to my gay friends and they've told me in context, you can say that's gay. If you're talking about gay, that's fine. But children yelling profanities that they picked up from their parents without knowledge of it, it can be very, very painful.
So you're saying educate them earlier on that in that context.
I don't disagree with that. A 5-year-old, can't figure it out or get breath.
Right, but you got to admit a baby isn't going to understand pictures from the Holocaust. I mean, there is a developmental awareness that we, I see. I don't disagree with you, Kenny, about seeing pictures in Life magazine of the Holocaust and being too young to learn what that means. But I think it's a different issue than sexuality. I think that it's not. it's a different physiology, for one thing. I think I don't know. I've had 5 kids, and I watch them grow to a point of where they're able to accept the responsibilities that come with sexuality.
Sexuality is different than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about acceptance of different types of people.
But I'm saying that I don't think my kids should be learning about all the birds and the bees.
It's not that they should be learning about it, but they should be educated. They should be educated right off the bat that there's different types of people.
I think they should be educated, and we're stepping all over Laura here. I think they should be educated to the fact of basic human dignities and rights. Be nice to people, accept people. Everybody's welcome. Hug, kiss, touch.
Let's talk about Kingston. I want to know about Kingston. Does Kingston, how much do you guys have conversation? When did he start asking you questions? At what age?
Well, questions about what? Questions about like,
why do I have 2 mommies?
He recently in the past couple years has asked things like, well, do I get to meet him? And he wants to meet him.
Him being his
biological
father.
Donor,
okay.
Yeah. Which, per the terms of the agreement, you can't do that until he's 18 years old. Mm-hmm. So he's curious about that, and he wants to know like what ethnicity he was, and how tan was he, and how tall was he, and
of course,
and stuff like that. Actually, just yesterday in camp, he's in drama camp, right? So he has a hard time sometimes getting along with the other boys because he doesn't play sports. He hates sports, no matter how much I push them on him because I'm a sporty kind of person.
Right.
But anyway,
right.
So he's in drama camp. So I'm like, maybe there'll be some boys at this camp that you get along with because these are your people, right? And these are drama camp kids. Anyway, a boy in camp, I guess, was pushing on him and pushing him down and started saying, your dad left because he doesn't love you.
See, the kids are mean.
Fucking mean. It's a good thing I wasn't there. I'd be in jail right now. And he's like, you're the reason your daddy left and all this stuff.
Wow.
And so, of course, Kingston's hysterical, crying. They kicked the kid out of the camp. So,
wow.
Okay. He had done some other things too, not just for that. But anyway, so
that is a drama class.
It is very drama, but it sparks up the conversation again. And as much as I talk to him about it, which we've always done for his whole, it's not like he's adopted and I could tell him, you know what I mean? There's no way I could lie about where he came from.
Right.
And he says he understands that 2 mommies is just as much love and things like that. I can see him getting sad on Father's Day. I can see he was crying yesterday. And so yesterday I was like, buddy, that's not true. Like your dad didn't leave you like that. Right. Never any dad to leave. Like, know that it shouldn't hurt you. Like it's not true. And he was just like, I know it just still hurts. You know what I mean? And so there's definitely, he's a very deep soul. And so there's a lot of things going on in his brain and thinking about it that maybe he doesn't have the words yet to communicate, but he thinks about it probably more than he tells me.
Well,
I cry about that because
of course, every child is aware of what the other kids are doing, and when it's a majority of other kids. When I was a kid, I was the only kid that didn't go to church. I went to a Unitarian church, which was very, very different. But everybody's getting confirmation names and going to church camp and all these things. I was incredibly jealous. I felt that I was missing something huge. Now it's a different issue than. But I understand.
But I want
a child missing Father's Day because everybody's going, we're barbecuing and Dad's going to make burgers.
But Laura, has he ever been teased about the fact that he's got 2 moms?
Not that I know of. At this age, most of the kids are like, that's impossible. And then the teacher steps in and goes, no, it's not. And then they're mostly like, oh, okay. And they just move on.
Well, that's the way it should be.
As long as you have
it should be.
Exactly. If you have a teacher, instead of
the teacher,
she said, yeah, it's fine. That was it. Yeah. That's all the kids need to hear. That's fine. Let's move on. I agree with that.
That's education. It's reality.
But if the teacher has to step in, according to DeSantis, and go, I can't say anything.
Right.
Well, and we're running out of time. Strangely, it goes by so quickly. But let's go back to basically behind enemy lines, and that's where we are. If DeSantis goes to teachers, you can't read these books, you can't say these things, you can't do. What is life in Florida going to be like? I mean, I can tell you in Iowa, and it's not going to be any different. But what's the plan right now, Laura? I mean, not like you have an escape plan.
A lot of it depends on my son. So, yes. I'm grown and I can spend for myself and whatever. You want to come at me and call me a dyke or whatever, like I'll punch you in the face. But if my son turns out to be gay or trans or whatever, and this is really a hard place for him, I will move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're just going to kind of see how it goes. Like our older son, Jackson, he won't ever watch this, so I can speak candidly, but he's had questions.
We could use the subscriber.
Am I bi? I don't know. Kind of like every kid probably goes through, especially nowadays because it's so fluid and so talked about.
I never went through that.
Oh, you experimented, Kenny.
No, as a matter of fact, my complaint, and I told Laura this, a guy has never hit on me once. I hear guys saying, oh, yeah, really? I get hit on all the time. Yeah, apparently I'm not attractive.
I was hit on all the time as a younger man.
See, you were hit on. Yeah. Oh, man.
I would have hit on you, Kenny.
Ken, you ever been to a gay bar? If you go to a big gay bar, you'll get hit on.
Didn't you bring me to a gay bar? I think you brought me to a gay bar. You did.
Probably, but it's probably a
woman. And no one hit on.
And my best friend, Terry Kidder, who's gay and a good-looking guy, I used to take saunas with him. I've even said to him, I can't believe you never hit on me.
Aren't you going to hit on me? Don't you like what you see? All right, but we digress.
I think you said that to me, Ken. I think you just say that to everybody.
But
you never hit on me.
Kenny, let me bring us back here. Because I understand what you're saying, Laura. If that were the case, you move, and of course you move. But the lifestyle that you went there for, people forget that. There's Kroger, how can you be in Iowa? Well, I'm here because I like the big outdoors, and I like the big skies, and I like the big weather. I like the hiking. I like the forests. I like the rivers and the trees and the Victorian towns.
All right, Jerry.
You're
and the little turtles and the little
so your lifestyle in Florida,
and the American pie and the apple pie. I like the apple pie.
You go to dinner, you go to the beach, you're there living the life you wanted to live in spite of all of this stuff going on.
Absolutely. Now, here's the thing, too, though. I've found that the area that I'm in, and maybe all of Florida, I don't know, it's kind of blue collar. Like, I live on a very wonderful street and, beautiful big houses, but like the rest of the town is maybe a little bit more like, especially inland Florida, like it's just a little bit more like farmers and plumbers and very blue collar, redneck, one might say. And like somehow Trump, who is the farthest from any of those things, has become their champion. Like, why do they love him? It baffles my mind because it's like, he hates you.
He hates you. Born with a silver spoon, nothing in common, and they have made him.
Love him. Like the everyday Joe, Farmer Joe in the overalls with the Trump flag.
And not only that, they give him money, and he's a billionaire. Who gives
He's
money?
a billionaire. They give him money.
They have no money.
And with this indictment and what's happened yesterday, his donations have gone up and up and up.
I'm sure
who donates to a billionaire?
Yesterday.
Who donates to a prisoner? I mean, it's just.
It makes no sense. Like if I see something rolling by me, like a rundown pickup truck and a beard and a cigarette dangling and like some gun stickers on the back,
they're going to hang you.
A Trump flag on it. It's like that's his people.
Yeah,
I know.
Probably because he's racist. Because they're racist and he's racist. Maybe that's the bond.
That's what it is.
Of course, that's part of it. It is.
Of course, absolutely.
It is.
It's bizarre.
He represents the power that they don't have. It's like, okay, there's this billionaire. He says whatever he wants, and he can put forth the programs that we want America to be, which is basically a white supremacist nation.
I find it amazing that you could. So you must go to parent-teacher associations or gatherings where the community is together, right? Yeah. And there are other people, and you and Danielle come in.
Out in public.
You do. You go out in public, right? And you're at gatherings, and you're among these people, and they're saying things like, we don't want these books in the school, and we don't want this, and whatever. I mean, I got to say, it must be a little bit. Disheartening or
unnerving.
Outside
it is
or
very,
nervous.
It's very frustrating. It's it makes me scared sometimes because I can't speak my mind or, have to watch what I say. I was driving around picking Kingston up from camp the other day, and I saw this like memorial with statues and arcs and big signs. And I was like, that's pretty. What is it? And I'm going to send you the picture after you can full screen it, whoever edits the show. That'd be great. And it said like the freedom to not vaccinate. In America.
Yeah, the freedom to get sick and the freedom to make others sick.
The body heals itself. The body was designed to heal itself. And there's like, Jesus and Mary and no vaccinations. Like I sent a picture to my family. I was like, only in Florida are we building
there's a lot only
memorials to not getting vaccinated.
There's websites called
Celebration of Ignorance.
It's bizarre to me. It's just, you don't want to get vaccinated.
Well, here's a thing that
I on public ground.
Here's the thing that we have as Americans have been told, and we all heard this phrase when people it's a free country. It's a free country, and what that means to people is I can do whatever I want to. If I want to be stupid, I can be stupid.
Well, they don't think they're being stupid. They think that they are literally on the cutting edge of awareness. But you're right. They think it means I'm free to be and do and say whatever I want. They don't put it the context of a functioning society into this equation.
If I want to be stupid, it's a free country. I'm stupid.
Yeah.
It said, how many people think that, the media is controlling your mind? It's like everybody. Well, how many people think they're being controlled by the media? No.
Well, in conclusion,
but that's what they say, right? The lefts are, we own the media and we're, indoctrinating everyone.
Yes. Well, and
maybe an alligator will eat DeSantis.
It's cognitive dissonance. It's the party of cognitive dissonance. So, in conclusion, for today, just to give me some hope, what do we do? Yes. What do we do? 30-second wrap up of what do we do? We get out and vote? Do we march? Do we move to blue states?
We get out and vote. And I have found, when I meet people here, I've made a good group of friends. In fact, I've probably made more friends here than I made in all my 7 years in Colorado. Even if we have differences of like who we voted for, like we get along, we're friends. They're not racist. Obviously, they're not homophobic. Obviously, they're good people. They may not be, have the same voting opinions as me, but there are a lot of good people here in Florida. Just not the crazy ones putting up the statues about.
Are those people transplants?
Everybody's a fucking transplant.
Everybody's a transplant. See, that's
in
the
Iowa
thing. Maybe
we grow
Florida
our own,
could turn
but
blue.
In Florida they're all Iowans and from Indiana, and
but that's the hope.
Moving here. Everybody's moving to Florida. So I'm hoping some Democrats come on down, but I think a lot of Democrats won't. A lot of my friends are like, "Oh my God,
well, that's kind of where I am." And my wife wants to just be anywhere that's blue. She just wants to be like Kenny, surrounded by people where, like you said, Laura, you can speak your mind.
Yeah,
but
and
you
feel
can't move the board. But you can't
people are going to throw rocks at you.
But you can't move the board to a lane that you can see in California. That's a story that only if you heard about my incident at the pool would you understand.
The board. Yeah, you'll have to watch a previous episode.
No, Kenny, I think we talked about it in the beginning, Gary.
Well, in this episode, we talked about your board because you lost that battle. Well, you know what? Hey, here's my answer. And it's kind of what you said, Laura. We stay in the fight. We keep trying to affect change, whether it's the school board, the pool board, or the national board. We just keep fighting.
Move to the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah. No. Well, it wouldn't that be something to turn Florida, Texas, Iowa at least purple again?
Well, I'll be voting.
I'll be voting. Kenny?
Yes, I can get.
And Kenny, I think you're sexy.
Are you hitting on me?
In my way, given the fact that there's 2,500 miles between us, I feel safe.
Well, right. I miss you, Laura.
I miss you too. I love you.
I come to Florida, but I'd be frightened to death.
Laura, I used to work in Orlando. I loved Florida. I love Florida. I love Florida. It was my family vacation every year. I know exactly why you're there. I know the air, the smell. I know the food. I know the piers. I love
everything's
Florida.
Great about Florida, but the people, not in Miami, but every place else. Because I worked in Orlando. I would go down to Orlando to direct shows for Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And, you know, in that little bubble going to the studios, that was fine. But I once got lost. And if you're 2 minutes out of Orlando, you're in serious redneck, swampy, alligator country.
I've loved all the people I've known from Florida. I don't know why not you, but Floridians elect the legislators that they do. Because they are horrible.
They come from the swamp.
They're horrible. They come from the swamp. The swamp that was supposed to be drained. All right.
Well,
on that note,
say goodbye, Gary. Tell everybody where to watch us.
Laura, thank you for joining us behind Enemy Lines again. Thank you so much. Love your family. Kenny, always love you. Folks, thank you for watching, listening, whatever you do. We have our own YouTube channel, The Gary and Kenny Show. We'd love a thumbs up. Become a subscriber. We're on DBTV and all of the popular podcast platforms. Thanks, and see Sexy Kenny and me next time. And thank you, Laura Poy.
Bye-bye.